Okay, so get this DNA computing. You guys sent in a ton of research on this, and wow, it's dense. Like, seriously, next level stuff. But that's what we're here for, right? Ready to dive in.
Absolutely. And honestly, once you get past the initial, brain melty stuff, it's fascinating. Like sci-fi, but real.
No kidding. Okay, so DNA computing, using actual DNA to like run calculations. Where do we even begin?
Well, at its core, imagine those double helix strands, the DNA, but instead of just carrying genetic info, it's storing and processing data, like a biological computer chip.
Instead of silicon and wires, it's the building blocks of life doing math.
Exactly. And it's not as out there as it sounds. Back in the 90s, a mathematician, Leonard Adleman, he solved this complex math problem, the kind that gives regular computers a run for their money. And he did it all using DNA in a test tube.
Hold on, he wrote, like, an algorithm using DNA? How do you even translate a math problem into, I don't know, something DNA can understand?
Okay, so DNA has four building blocks, right? The A, T, C, and G you might remember from bio.
Yeah, vaguely.
Well, those act like a code. They can represent data, just like the zeros and ones in our everyday computers.
Okay, so we've got our DNA data storage, but how do you make it actually do something? We're not booting up DNA laptops just yet.
Not yet, but that's where the really cool science comes in. Scientists figured out how to use those natural biological processes, like how DNA strands separate and come back together, to perform actual computational operations.
We're talking about hijacking the processes that make life itself to do math homework.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
For example, DNA melting. That's where the two strands of the helix come apart. Think of unzipping a zipper.
Okay, I'm with you.
Then there's annealing, where they bind back together, like finding its missing puzzle piece.
And these simple actions, that's the basis of complex calculations. It seems almost too elegant.
Nature's full of surprises. And then there's replication. Basically, it's like copy pasting, but on a biological level, making copies of DNA strands for more, intricate computations.
And to wrangle this molecular mess, there's gel electrophoresis. I remember that from school, kind of. It's like an obstacle course, but for DNA, right?
Yeah.
Separating them by size.
Exactly. And here's the thing. All those basic operations, they're the foundation for this whole range of DNA computing types that are being developed right now. We're talking like the DNA equivalent of computer chips, but with way more potential.
Wait, so it's not just one type of DNA computing, there's a whole spectrum.
Oh, yeah. Think of it this way. We're barely dipping our toes in the kiddie pool here. The deep end is filled with things like DNA logic gates. They're like the building blocks of those digital circuits, except, well, made of DNA.
Hold up, DNA logic gates. So we're talking about recreating the core parts of a computer, but on a molecular level.
You got it. And it gets wilder. Imagine not just basic logic gates, but DNA adders, subtractors, doing math with the very molecules that make up life itself.
My mind is officially blown, and we haven't even gotten to the good part yet. What about those cascaded circuits? I've seen that term thrown around.
Ah, yes. Imagine this. Linking multiple logic gates together, you're essentially building a complex computer program, but instead of lines of code, you're using DNA. This is where the real power comes in incredibly complex calculations. But of course, more power, more potential for problems, right?
Right. How do you make sure these intricate molecular machines don't make mistakes? You can't just control Z on a DNA strand.
And that's where it gets even cooler. They're developing these really complex error detection and correction methods. It's like a biological spell check, but for your molecular programs.
Biological spell check. Never thought I'd hear those words together. You know, for something that sounded so abstract at first, this is shaping up to be pretty wild.
Just wait till we get to the materials they're using to build all of this. It's like DNA is the software, and we're just now discovering the hardware to run it on.
Okay, now you've really got my attention. We'll have to save those materials for next time, though. I have a feeling this deep dive is about to get even deeper. All right, diving back into the world of DNA computing. Last time, we were about to uncover the hardware behind all of this. You mentioned some really cool materials, so what's the deal with those?
Okay, so get this. Imagine these tiny, tiny gold nanoparticles, so small you can barely see them. And when they react to DNA computations, they change color.
Wait, hold on. We're talking color-changing nanoparticles acting like, what, some kind of output display?
Yeah.
That's insane. It's like a disco for DNA data. What else is there?
Okay, so you know about enzymes, right? Those biological catalysts. Turns out they're not just for digesting your lunch anymore. Scientists are using them to, control those DNA reactions with crazy accuracy.
So the enzymes are like the little robot arms carefully assembling and manipulating our DNA circuits.
Exactly. And then there are fluorescent dyes. These things, they attach to specific DNA sequences, and then they light up. so researchers can actually track the computations in real time.
It's like giving our DNA code a glow stick and then watching the party unfold under a microscope. Okay, this is seriously cool and all, but let's talk applications. Like, what can we actually do with this beyond just, ooh, shiny molecules?
This is where it gets really exciting. Imagine diagnosing diseases, but way faster and more accurately than ever before, like catching them at the molecular level before you even have symptoms.
Wow, talk about early detection. So DNA computing could totally revolutionize personalized medicine.
Exactly. And it gets even better. Think drug discovery. Instead of spending years and billions of dollars on trial and error, imagine using DNA computers to rapidly test millions of potential drugs at once. We could pinpoint the absolute best options way faster.
That would be huge for, well, pretty much every disease out there, from cancer to the common cold. Okay, so huge implications for medicine, but what about other fields? Data storage is a big one these days. We're generating more information than we can store.
You're telling me. Remember how we talked about DNA as a potential storage powerhouse? Well, imagine this tiny DNA capsules replacing those massive data centers we have now. And each one could hold, like, libraries worth of information.
Wait, so you're saying we could hold all of human knowledge in, like a drop of DNA? That's amazing. And a little terrifying, honestly. But like any new tech, there's got to be some downsides, right? What are the challenges here?
Well, it's not all sunshine and roses. You're right. One of the biggest hurdles is scale.
Hmm.
Right now, DNA computers are still pretty limited in size and processing power, especially compared to our electronic ones.
So while DNA could theoretically store ridiculous amounts of data, I'm not trading in my laptop for a DNA-powered one just yet.
Not just yet. Cost is another big one. Synthesizing and manipulating DNA, still a really complicated and expensive process.
Right, because even the coolest tech needs to be affordable and easy to use if it's really going to change the world. So it sounds like we're still in the early stages with DNA computing. But think about computers. We went from those giant room-sized things to sleek smartphones in a few decades.
Exactly. DNA computing might be a baby, but the progress it's made in a few short years, it's mind-blowing. With more research, imagine the breakthroughs waiting for us.
I'm already imagining a future where DNA computing isn't just this crazy scientific thing, but just like a normal part of life. But before we get ahead of ourselves, what could those advancements actually look like? And what challenges are we still facing in this whole new world of computing? Okay, so we've talked about what DNA computing is, how it works, but what about the future? Are we all going to be rocking DNA laptops anytime soon?
Ah, the DNA laptop. Well, that might be a ways off still, but the potential of this tech is huge. Some experts think, down the line, DNA computing could actually be more powerful than our regular computers, especially for certain things. Like imagine analyzing tons of data or like simulating these super complex biological systems.
So not replacing our electronics, but kind of like supercharging them in specific areas. What kind of breakthroughs could we see realistically, like in the next decade or two?
It's hard to like predict the future exactly, but imagine this DNA computers that can go through huge GE data sets like the entire human genome in seconds, or developing medicine that's totally personalized just for you based on your genes.
It's kind of mind-blowing, right? Solving these massive problems with basically the same stuff that makes us us. But we talked about some of the hurdles before. Cost, scale, our scientists working on those.
Oh yeah, absolutely. For one thing, they're finding new ways to make DNA synthesis cheaper and faster. And those cascaded circuits, remember those? Those are going to be key to making them more powerful. It's like building the foundation for a whole new generation of computers.
It really does feel like we're seeing a tech revolution unfold, except this time it's happening on a molecular level.
Exactly. And it's not just about faster computers. It's about like this merging of biology and technology. Imagine harnessing nature itself to solve our biggest problems.
It's like something out of science fiction. But it's real. We've covered a lot of ground today, the basics, the potential, those challenges, and honestly, just how awe-inspiring this all is.
And we're just getting started. The more we learn about DNA, about its computing power, the more questions pop up.
Well, you've definitely given our listeners a lot to think about today, that's for sure. From color-changing nanoparticles to the future of data storage. So to everyone listening, here's something to ponder. If we can compute with DNA, what other secrets is nature hiding? What other revolutionary tech is just waiting to be discovered? Keep those questions coming, because that's what the Deep Dive is all about. Until next time, happy exploring.